that happy horse shit. How's it going, guys? Zerilath Immortal. Welcome to my cult of about 5 people. You know, YouTube. You know, like when it comes to shit like this, I mean, like we might as well, like, just say like, yo, I want to make a cult. That's really all there is to it. And you know what? That's okay, because that's what we're like, you know? If you listen to the Dick Van Dyke Show, that was your cult back in the day. These were cults of wholesome family values, as opposed to me, which is just a cult of my personal life, and are you interested in it, right? I think that it's not a successful model, so I'm not really doing this for success. I'm just doing this because this is social media, and I'm just a guy who's out there throwing ideas around while working on stuff in my regular life, because unlike before, I was too entrapped within myself and within the confines of my world to have that kind of relationship with myself and the world. And so trying to understand things on the internet and trying to influence the world on the internet for the sake of my own self was all I really got. Right? That's really no different than anyone else. Right? But this is also a place of conflict, because there's 2 kinds of people that are living this way. People that are projecting, and then people that are receptive, right? I step out there. Like, I almost have things where it's just like, man, I really just wish you'd just change all your fucking beliefs, right? But the real place in your heart where your beliefs come from, that you end up saying such a thing about, you're forgetting about how personal that is, and how it's not really connected to anything that makes the world a better place for you. Or for them. You know, it's kind of like asking everybody to play along that this is the world of tomorrow at Epcot Center, when you know, it's actually the French Pavilion, right? You're in Disney's version of France, not Disney's version of the future. You need to play along. You have to accept that all these other people that in your Dasein are practically backdrop people. You have to accept that they are deep in their own personal stuff, and you just get to see what's on the forefront of it, right? You know, it's just like, it was good that we had the NPC meme, because it was important for analyzing the psychology, and this is the result of analyzing that psychology, is that people are just wrapped up in themselves, man. Like, you have no idea how terrifying you are. If you're on my frequency, if you get me at all, it means that you're probably a bit of a madman yourself. So you need to also remember that you're a bit of a madman, and that their normalness compared to your madness is okay, right? One of the things that you find when you can be yourself while also kind of knowing within reason the rules of the world, this is like the Hierophant card in tarot. that you're going to be upsetting and terrifying and or stupid or whatever to all sorts of other people. Nobody can particularly appreciate what's going on in your heart. All they can really do is hear what's on your mind. And what's on your mind can often obfuscate what's going on in your heart as a manner of protecting it. Because it's a difficult line to be actually crossing, where you've made yourself more vulnerable or less vulnerable based on your capacity of trust, right? These are important elements when I get around to doing my next video on the Loki TV series with Gabe, my buddy Slick Dissident. That'll be one of the things I'm bringing up is the you can't trust me factors, right? That I get from the way that I live my life, right? And so I'll be explaining all of those things there, including the how the show functions with basically the fact that, like, if it weren't playing by some sort of rules of Hollywood and comic book storytelling and everything else, as a proper mythos, you would actually have Odin in the spot of Loki. You know, Loki would be there. Loki would be basically this outsider looking in about the whole thing. I mean, like, I'm even kind of thinking to myself that the nature of He Who Remains, that I almost want to say that perhaps the He Who Remains that you meet at the end of season 1 is the He Who Remains that is also a Loki variant. Why not? A Loki variant that's such a variant that it doesn't even prefer green the way the others do. Right? Or could it be that they are trying to make him akin to Odin, right? He's got this ring around his palace in the center of time, and you know, is that ring kind of akin to a Dripnir? Rings are symbols of rulership, lordship. You know, like, the crown is one thing, but a king, well, the ring is just as significant as the crown. It's just that it's a subtle thing, because it's a small thing that goes around a finger, right? And that king's ring, that's probably a marriage ring, to be married to the goddess of that land, which I believe is affirmed in Celtic rituals for various lordships of ancient pagan tradition that they would have with one of the druids or such. They would perform a marriage ceremony between the king and the kingdom. And all of this is, you know, that's all part of a system where they're trying to have a ruler that is good, because just the way things are, you needed a ruler, and being a ruler meant something different then than it does now. Although you'll find that humans are humans no matter what period of time, at least in the current continuity of time that we understand, which may or may not be changing, right? There's just a whole lot of alienation to be felt by those of us this level of unique, right? It's like the Loki series talks about this whole bit about Loki being alone, right? You know, it asks a whole lot of questions about Loki, like, and it asks them as a quantum question, which is fairly appropriate. And so there's a lot that they do tell you that's right about Loki, but there's a lot that they tell you that is also conflated with what it is to be a trickster god, because Odin is the trickster god. Loki is a very powerful trickster spirit. It's a different relationship. Very different relationship that Loki has with the cosmos versus an Aesir or a Vanir. He has a Jotun's relationship with the cosmos. He is a product of that cosmos in a more primordial sense, because of his Jotunness, as opposed to being an Aesir or a Vanir deity. My point is this, right? Is that you end up having very, very, very tight, niched friends. And sometimes it's because, you know, you tolerate half of what they are because you really appreciate their presence. About other things, and that your friendship is really kind of bonded around certain things that are common, mutual, that you like to do, right? And if those things weren't there, you wouldn't care as much. You know, this is mostly because it's just like, oh, you know, people that acknowledge me in my world, right? It's just like if your friend doesn't acknowledge you anymore because they can't really go the way that you go, then you're going to end up parting ways. It took me a long time to reconcile my feelings about that, because it took me a long time to answer the question to myself, is like, what am I doing? What is underneath my desire to feel loved and accepted and fit in? Because I can't be myself without risking losing that with people. And why do I act like it's not okay? It's my own, fault, because I could have just withheld from acting a certain way or saying a certain thing around these people. Was it that important? Or maybe it was just because I had no option other than to really kind of share information. It's funny, it said no turn on red, and I was going to do it anyway, and it turned green. Ain't that nice? Anyway. So, you know, you learn a whole lot about all sorts of things. There's only so much of the quote revolution that's real, right? There's only so much that what you think other people objecting to the same things you're objecting to that may be in your world or around you are going to do and go and be as, you know, and what kind of place in the world their conclusions to things have led them when they're holding on, you know? It's just like, because like before really 2016, you could kind of have, you could have all sorts of conversations with anyone. There's very little that was, quote, triggering like that. And then we decided to turn a corner in 2016 and accept all this bullshit and allow certain forces and power players and people that only thing they care about is being ahead of the curve on certain trends and fighting to make sure that you don't fuck up those trends because they like the way that future looks, right? These are the people that all of a sudden popped up out of the woodworks and said, no, the world is going to be like this now, and I will give you holy hell, cut you off if you don't accept the way I make my world happen. And that may be important. That may be important, even if it looks wrong to me from the outside. I would need to know a tremendous amount more about what's going on in your internal world, right? There are certain things that in a general sense I can speak on because of what they are, right? Like, if I've got my deep dive in the history of the church, Christianity, and religion, and Abrahamism, and monotheism, and all that stuff, I can tackle that stuff in the esoteric, if you will. But there's going to be a level that is not for the profane, that you got to hold your fucking tongue, because there are Christians that don't want to fucking hear it. It'll for them, it'll change their relationship with God in ways that terrifies them, because they may feel like they have to retaliate in order to feel well in their place in their soul, right? Because they start to look at you as a corruption who is corrupting, right? And in most cases, that's, you know, that's wrong. It's just coming out of ignorance, bigotry, fear. But it's not always wrong. But we're also living in this very, very, very strange time where, you know, we're living, you know, like if you look at the reports of what's going on in the world is a very weird place now, right? And it's not, and a lot of it is weird in ways that are just bad, right? They're so bad that you don't even know how to talk about them because of taboos, things like that. The ways people's sensibilities shifted, right? And that's shifting again, obviously, right? Because the attacks are not so heavy duty. And most of these attacks at this point have nothing to do with, like, censoring somebody who shocked you with political incorrectness. Now the censorship is getting into the weeds of actually targeting people that are very, very, very effective at breaking the spell of different psyops persistently. Right? There's always like a report from some channels that are just, you know, constantly under threat, just like, we just had another video taken down, right? But then there's also people that have imagined things too. Because I've watched people that their channel had an interesting injection because they you know, at the time, and then the direction of their content either didn't move and became out of touch with the time, or the choice to change was the wrong direction. A lot of hyper-independent, like, kind of like normie entertainment channels kind of went that way, right? They you know, because censorship and the changing culture had kind of destroyed everything that was part of what was fueling their content. And with that broken, they've all had to do all sorts of other things, which even if you've got like millions of subs, because you're a big deal, it's kind of right? It's there's very few big channels that are doing dynamically controversial things. It's just it's not. It's punishable in the algorithm, yes, but also there are lots of, you know, when you are getting that level of controversial, and you have to remember there's a lot of people that don't believe in freedom of speech anymore. There's gonna be, you know, you're at the mercy of all these people with this disposition for censorship, right? On a level that is just, quite frankly, unnerving and uncomfortable and heart-wrenching for somebody who really just needs to have, you know, to have that expression out there. To, at the very least, be somebody who is telling someone who can do something about it in the world what's really going on. Like, this is what's happening to me, really. This is my personal report of what I'm actually experiencing as a subject of interest of these times, right? If somebody is interested in solving problems for people in a liberal world who are straight white conservative men or something like that, right? Perhaps they're straight white Christian conservative men, you know, very traditional, but also they don't have all their shit together. They're struggling, and they're trying to put it out there of X, Y, and Z, you know, issues in the world that make it hard for them. And how much they're trying not to be a victim about it, right? And so that gets, you know, that's one kind of person that makes content, right? Someone like me, you know, it's just like I can do plenty of simple things. I'm just trying to elevate the bar of what somebody could just do with minimal effort on social media to put something valuable out there. A man who reads Martin Heidegger and muses on the passages in real time. Maybe it's a terrible format. Maybe people are just being polite. I don't believe that censorship is why I am in this position, in this situation. Because it's obvious to me there's a lot of other people that just, they start with a small production. They put a minimum amount of investment. They put a healthy amount of time, and they built slowly. Maybe they started with 5-minute videos. It's amazing how short a 5-minute video on YouTube really is. There's a strange time dilation when you get zoned into a YouTube video, you know, because I swear to God, like a video that's allegedly an hour long and it's running, and I can tell that it's running at normal speed, it feels like it's over in like 50 minutes, 45 minutes, if just played without stop, without commercial interruption. Even with commercial interruptions sometimes, just about 15 seconds, right? Which doesn't add a whole lot of time. But that oddly becomes, at least how it feels. It's a strange sensation. So I'm working on the conversation for Loki with Slick Dissident. Obviously, we get around to some more Martin Heidegger on the channel because we're only halfway through the damn book. And I'd like to have enough time next time I make a video for Heidegger that I got time to do 2 to 3 chapters, right? Which is, that's a long haul stream. It's amazing how much time that takes up. And I don't read it particularly slow. But it's just the way you pad the time, because obviously I'm taking breaks every half an hour and letting sometimes a song that's longer than 5 minutes play while I take a break. You know, I get a drink. I perhaps pee. Take a hit. Hold my thought, but reset my nervous system so that way I've got like a little injection of extra energy, and then boom, and I go for another 25, 30 minutes, 35 minutes talking, take another break, right? And so just as a human need for the purposes of a live stream, I'm at least coming up with basic production, right? It's not like I put any work into changing how my transition screens work and shit. That's just there to structure things together, and then as long as my audio is hooked up properly, I hit play on a song. I probably should be like getting the song as a hard MP3 on my computer instead of hearing ads in the middle of the album. Probably should do that. Or perhaps I should invest in YouTube Music or YouTube Premium. Drive drunk and you'll be sorry. Ha ha ha. Anyway, I literally said that on the overhead. Yeah, you gotta love that shit though. That's cute. Anyway. Hey, what's going on? Hey, Susie. Love you too. All right. So anyway, I'm heading up to see the family. I got Locke here, by the way. That's his carrier. He's hanging out, not making a noise. I am going to catch you guys later. Maybe I'll stream tonight. I don't know. I kind of want to go see a movie. I kind of want to ask my friends if anybody... I got one friend who might be available tonight. So I'm either going to go see a movie or I may live stream. We'll see. All right. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.